What's good? What's good? What's good? Uh, we're trying to see if I know this is a little difficult. I'm trying to see about people actually receiving notifications. Looks like people are receiving some now. It's probably just going out. What's good, brother? No, it needs to be explained a little bit more. Somebody did a video and they stated a fact that was actually true, but it was different. I mean, it was never really explained to its fullest in technicality of what actually was going on that needed to be addressed at the time. Now, everybody in the game at this time realized that Tupac and his situation when he was locked up, right? So there's no misunderstanding there. Everybody got that. Like, okay, Tupac was locked up at a point in his life. So we all know about that. But what people seem to forget that was different from all the other artists at Death Row is that those guys came from a different situation into another situation. Tupac's situation was already there. Death Row had its own juncture, but it was distributed through Jimmy Iovine and Interscope Records. So Interscope Records really wanted nothing to do with rap or hip hop at the time, and they were small time. Death Row really put them on the map. And that was something they just had off to the side to try to separate itself. But Death Row was really Interscope, but they had bought a portion of their distribution game. So they were able to distribute their own music through their end, and because Interscope didn't want to touch it at the time. But when it became something larger than life, then they interjected themselves more often. So when Suge went to acquire Tupac on Death Row Records, the thing was, well, he had to get bailed out, and Suge didn't bail him out. Suge just went and got the money from Interscope to bail him out. Tupac was already under contract with Interscope, so he could not sign a record deal with Death Row. So the contract that he signed in jail was a release form, like as a power of attorney, basically, of firing his old manager and hiring Suge Knight as his manager. It wasn't a record contract. But he basically was like a promissory note saying, I'm going to give you 3 albums. I'm going to give you 3 albums. Here's my, my signature on that, and so on and so on. And Suge had to be the manager. That's how that works. Tupac was already signed under contract with Interscope. So what they did was Interscope was like, okay, cool, we could put him with Death Row. You guys already got there. You can help promote the artist. So to transition him over. But his checks and all his payments were going to come through Interscope because they already got him signed. So Pac was already their signed artist. So Tupac has to pay Death Row and he has to pay Interscope. So before he gets a dime, Interscope gets paid, Death Row gets paid, and then Tupac gets paid. Big Al said that's not true. What's not true, Big Al? Because it's the truth how I know it. Hmm? Me saying that he had to pay two people, that's not true. That was absolutely true. Suge Knight gave him a list of accounts that he ran up while at death row. Tupac made 3 albums. He made a double CD, which was going to count for 2 albums. He had one other album that he was going to do, and that was going to get him out of his deal. Because Suge wanted to make it like, okay, you're going to get to the end of your Interscope deal, and you threw with Interscope. Now he's ready for renegotiation of a new deal. And Pac was like, oh, yeah, because, this is cool, but yeah, I'm finna go get my own thing. And he was like, why you want to leave the road? Like, are you kidding? He was like, oh, man, this your thing. Pac told him, look, this you. Death Row is you. This your thing. I wanna do my own thing. Like I'm still cool with the road. I'm gonna come jump down on records with Daz, Corrupt, anybody. I'm still down with the road. I'm just ready to do my thing. I want to be able to go and build my own company, get my own record label, be the boss. Like you the Don. Like he told him, Suge, you the Don. I'm a capo. But now it's my turn to be the Don. For my set. I got to get promoted. So no, Dr. Dre did not leave Death Row because of Tupac. That is an absolute lie. Had nothing to Dre. Dr. Dre left mainly because Tupac insertion was just the final straw. Like he just couldn't deal with. He had enough. Okay, Dre done a lot. Dre and Suge relationship was damaged because there was so much garbage going on. They end up getting in some trouble up here in Milwaukee. A whole lot of stuff went down, but Dre ain't really working like that. Dre is pretty much like his environment the way it was, and now you got all these thugs hanging around, and Dre got to work around that, and now you bringing in artists, and that was not Suge's job, was to bring in the artists. Dre's job was to do the talent. Suge was supposed to be the quiet guy behind the scenes, just getting the money. More and more, Suge has got his hands in everything, and Dre's like, now you messing with the game, the music now, with how we working. Oh no, this ain't what I signed up for. Like what, this you keep this. I'm leaving. Tupac, him and Suge just became, like a unit. But let's get back to Pac contract. Interscope never dropped Tupac, so why was he a free agent? He wasn't a free agent. What he signed was a power of attorney release to make Suge his manager. He never really signed a contract with Death Row. He signed like basically a promissory note to give Death Row 3 albums. they worked out a deal with Interscope before they even met with Tupac that he would be on the label, period. But Tupac had to agree to go work with them. But Interscope basically gave Tupac to Death Row. So that was negotiated out first. You know, the rest was getting Tupac to just come in and do the records. But all their money come from Interscope. They got to go get the check there, and they going to cut it for Pac. So they put Pac on Death Row. To make it more understanding, let me make this clear to you in another way that you would probably understand it. Redman was signed with Def Jam, and he was on Wu-Tang albums galore. Now, he wasn't signed to Loud Records, but he was there. You know, Future never signed with Cash Money, but him and Drake did an album together on Cash Money Records. Future was not signed with Cash Money Records, right? Future already has a record contract, but Future did an album with Drake under Cash Money Records. Pac barely saw any money from his record. All Eyes on Me, he just sold 5 million records and barely saw any money. The majority of his money was used, and he had basically Me Against the World had paid off his old lawyers and all the debts he had. He used basically all that money that he made off Me Against the World to pay off his lawyers, cases that he had that was coming up. Now, since he been out, it's so many other things that was going on. He had to get his mom a house. His mom was in dire straits. So he moved his mom into a house that was in somebody else's name. That wasn't even in her name. So she was staying in that house. And then he got a house. They gave him a car. They gave him money. All of this stuff that was going to be charged to Interscope for Tupac that they were going to bill Pac for. All the trips that they went on. And he had the Outlaws and everybody they had a list of accounts that they were billing Interscope for. And Interscope was paying it. And they were taking it from Pac. And then it was debts, all these debts that Pac had. So when he was talking about leaving, and he was like, man, I want to go do my own thing. And he was like, well, you just can't up and leave. Like, you got all these debts. And Pac like, debts? I just sold 5 million records. He was like, yeah, but all that money come back in time. He's like, look at all this stuff we got. We got your mom a $3 million house. You got a car. You got this trip here. This is what y'all ordered. All these list of bills. And Pac, at that moment, realized the game. Pac was somebody who wasn't good with money. If he got money in his hand, he didn't care who was around. He spent it. It was gone. They make some more. Money was not, he wasn't one of those guys who was business savvy. No, it was so many debts they had. So when they was making the Outlaws album and everything, Tupac was down. Suge knew, like, Tupac, my guy, I can't have my guy going left. Like, he's the focal point right now. This guy's the biggest thing in the game. I got to get, this guy is one of us. Like, he's the closest guy to Suge out of anybody in Death Row, really. Besides Danny Boy hanging out with him. No, Pac is the guy. Snoop didn't hang out with Suge like that. Dre didn't hang out with Suge like that. And those are his two biggest artists. And they didn't hang with Suge like that. Pac came out, he was MOB. He was claiming MOB. He was in the hood, hanging out with them. So So he decided to put Pac with Eric B so that they could run together. They could run Death Row East, and they was gonna come out with a Death Row East, and they was promoting Death Row East, and we gonna do on the East Coast what we did on the West Coast. All of these things was in place. Death Row's East, that wasn't working out. Pac didn't want to work out with Eric B. That whole vibe, they really, Eric B was doing his own thing. They had their own different vibe, and Pac wanted to try to, do his own thing. That's why he wanted to do the One Nation album, and that was gonna be on uh Death Row East, and that ended up like Pac was like, "Look, that's their thing. I want to do my thing." So they approved it. He wanted his own label, and this is where Suge and Snoop and Pac had the problem, where Snoop was just jealous of the situation between Suge and Pac because Snoop couldn't get his publishing and get his doggy style records and all that stuff. He couldn't get that, but Tupac could and keep his publishing. So to avoid paying Interscope, Tupac signed as an artist and signed himself as an artist, Machiavelli, and changed his name. That's why the album title is Machiavelli. Okay, with Death Row as the main supporting label with Machiavelli Records. Machiavelli album was the first one to launch that. Then was going to come the Outlaw album. So now he's got his own imprint that he can eat from. And Machiavelli Records is going to be one of the biggest record labels out. So that's why he didn't use the name Tupac anymore, because he was wrapped up with Interscope and having to pay all that money out under the name Tupac. So he was putting an end to Tupac as far as rapping under Tupac. He had made the albums and was like, okay, them the Tupac records, they got that. Now I'm finna launch Machiavelli. And it's gonna be a whole new chapter, and I'm eating off that. The first album off of Machiavelli Records is Machiavelli. And he had everybody calling him Machiavelli. Don't call him Tupac on this. He's Machiavelli. And that was gonna be his name. And he was gonna take that all the way to the end. No, he was jealous of the situation. Snoop wasn't always jealous. That's why I'm like, you guys took my video out of context. You gotta listen to the video. He was jealous over the situation between Suge and Pac. Snoop did not like how Pac was able to get his publishing and Snoop had signed away his and didn't even know it. He didn't like that. But Pac can come in and get all everything. And he's like, look, I helped build this. And he gets this, and he just came here. So it was the lack of respect thing there that led to that disrespect. So when they went to New York, Pac saw it on first hand. The way Snoop was like, yo, they cool with me, in New York and everything. When Pac is like, I'm out here riding for you. I'm riding for y'all. Like Mobb Deep, Mobb Deep ain't never do nothing to Pac. Pac like, I'm riding on Mobb Deep for you. What's going on? Y'all had problems with Mobb Deep, not us. When he went on the radio and said that he was done with in Pac eyes, he was done with Snoop. What is Big Al telling you? Pac was finna sign with No Limit Records. Are you out your mind? What's up, YTV? I see you. They became cool before Big passed. Like him and the Dog Pound when they came back out to LA and everything because they came up to New York and that's when they after Big died, Puff and Snoop, they had like the truce and met up. But truth be told, like they knew like there was drama going on in the streets, like it was hot. But Big was out there way too early. Shouldn't have been out there, and not with that. If he gonna be out there, he needed more security than what was out there. Right. Don't forget to subscribe to the page. Hit that like button. For all y'all who new here. Yes, it was Pac's independent label. He was the first artist. Then it was going to be the Outlaws. Then he had the One Nation album. So Still I Rise, the Outlaws album that ended up coming out, that was going to be on Machiavelli Records. Then the One Nation album that he was working on, which was going to be on Death Row East. But now that was going to be the on Machiavelli Records. And he had Nice and Smooth. He had a lot of people on there from the East Coast. And then he was going to get, Nas was the last person he got that agreed to be on the One Nation album. And he thought that was going to be huge when they met in New York. And they got cool because at that time, Nas and Biggie, just because of ego, wasn't really on the same wavelength. They was on this King of New York thing. And yeah, Bone was going to be on the One Nation album. They was going to have One Nation. They had Bone Thugs from Cleveland. He had it all done because before there was a beef between Tupac and Bone. Back when he dissed Bone, and because he had Thug Life and they had Thuggish Ruggish Bone, and he like, wait a minute. Easy E went and signed them because he wanted Easy E to sign Thug Life, and Easy E turned down Thug Life. He wasn't feeling it really, and all those guys was there, like Above the Law. those were the guys that was rocking with Pac, and all those dudes. And when they brought Tupac to Easy and all that, and when it was brought up to him, he wanted to sign Pac as individual artist, but getting him out of Interscope, that contract was already laid. So him and being in a group would make sense. But what easy thinking is jump down in the NWA, and then we can see if we could work that out. We'll find a way to get you through Ruthless and put you down with NWA. We can get you in a group. But he want to rap with this Thug Life. And he was like, Easy wasn't feeling the rest of the group. Then he was like, fine. Went and got him a deal somewhere else with Thug Life. Like, bet, F you. I'm out. Went and got a deal somewhere else. And then he finds out Easy E signs a group from Cleveland and calling them Thuggish Ruggish Bone. It's like, wait a minute. Now you copying off us. So in his mind, that's the way he took it. So when he came out and did the interview, that's why he was like, we Thug Life. We ain't no fake thuggish, ruggish. So when he was dropped, when he said that, that's why he made that reference. That's why. And and when they came to Cleveland, man, it almost went down. Like it almost blew up because Death Row had problems with Death Row Records had problems with them in the whole nine. Some people forget that. Dog Pound and all them, they kind of had problems with them doing the Easy E thing. Back when it was Ruthless versus Death Row. So when they did the show with Pac and Easy was gone and they came to Cleveland, it was still lit because they was dissing Bone too. And they was like Daz and them, they had some problems. Them Cleveland dudes moved different. And Pac was like, no, no, no. And that's how they chilled out and they was able to do the song. Because they was there doing that show in Cleveland and it was going to get shut down that night. It was still on. Because Bone, they were serious. They were dead serious about that. They took that to heart. And the thing is that they was dissing Ruthless, but then they started dazzing, corrupting them. They was just, Suge told them to do that. Suge told them to call. Eazy-E was smart because he saw the business sense of what was going on. That's where the money was at. There was an opportunity to buy radio spots. And they had an actual radio station. And when you get to, you could promote your own music. If you own a radio station, no record label ever did that. See, Magic Johnson ruined a whole lot. He was ahead of the game. He bought a lot of sports, radio stations. And instead of keeping those for the brothers, I talked about it on the Patreon. So I'm gonna leave it on. It's on the Patreon. I'll let you see what happened there with Magic and that. But Magic Johnson had him. But Ruthless Radio was out. 92.3. So they were promoting their own music on their own radio station. That was ahead of the game. Eazy-E was thinking like that because he saw Magic do it. Magic Johnson went and bought these radio stations early in his career, business move. And those are not normally available for anybody to just go out and buy. So while he did that, Suge had Daz and Corrupt try to promote themselves because their album was coming out. So while the Dog style, they Dog Food album coming out, Suge want them to get into a beef with Easy on the radio station to promote their album, BS marketing. So they all call up there and get into it with Easy. And then they cursing on the air, and Easy was like, "Look, I'll let y'all stay on the air, but y'all can't be cursing because the FCC, it's radio, so you get fined like $1,000 fine for every curse word. They could just make up fines." So Easy's like, "Look, y'all can stay on here, but no cursing." And I'm quite sure you guys have heard it all now. It's on YouTube now. You can hear the entire conversation, basically. Oh, yes, sir. Right. Everybody new here. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification. Easy E tried to get Daz a lesson. Daz is like, "We got the #1 album. No, we selling records. When you sell 1,000,000 records, then you can holler at us." He was Daz. You talking to the wrong fool. Do you even have $1,000,000, Daz? You said your album sold 1,000,000 records. Did you make $1,000,000, Daz? Did you make $1,000,000, Daz? He told him, "Did you make $1,000,000?" You talking to the wrong fool. But what got on there is when Lazy, because Bone just happened to be on there that day. Lazy Bone was there. So Lazy was on the radio talking with them. He was like, "Dog, like we from Cleveland. I know about, like, we don't even know y'all. You know what I'm saying? But for you to say ain't nobody real over here and you ain't seen nobody over here, that's not real. You can't." He's like, "I don't know what you doing or where you from, dude." He's talking to Daz. Daz, dog, you talking about people ain't real on this side when you ain't seen them. How you gonna say something? None of y'all real over there. You don't know us. So that was where Bone was like, "Dog, we've never met you. You've never seen us, and for y'all to say that ain't real. That's like punk. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, ain't no real dudes over there. You ain't even seen them." I mean, Daz, at now he understands what Easy was saying way back then. Dash, you ain't making it off the publishing. The company was. So, I just wanted to clarify that because I think if somebody was saying that Tupac wasn't really signed to Death Row Records, I'm like, that's correct. That part is correct. But I have to give you guys some context to it. That was more than that. Suge was his manager. David Kenner was his lawyer. Everybody keeps saying Tupac was finna leave Death Row Records. No, he was not leaving Death Row Records. What he was doing was getting his own imprint through Death Row Records. Suge was not trying to let Tupac leave. Tupac wanted to leave. He was frustrated because he wanted to do his own thing, but now he feel like he's stuck because all these bills and all the stuff he owns. So he wanted a list of accounts so that he can know what he owes. And he went to his lawyer, which was David Kenner. David Kenner would not provide a list of what Tupac had owed, what has been paid. He kept saying, "I got to get that to you." And Tupac was frustrated with that. And he sent the letter firing David Kenner. as his representation. He didn't want David Kenner, the death row lawyer, representing him anymore. Tupac was still with Interscope, but he's now he's signed and got his own publishing, republished himself, or what they call rebranded himself as Machiavelli. So Machiavelli, under Machiavelli Records, which is his own imprint, his own publishing, now he's rebranded. So Tupac now is the thing of the past. Now he's Machiavelli. That's why the word Tupac was on. Now they're telling me connection is unstable for whatever reason that could be. So what other lies that you guys heard? Tupac was going to leave Death Row because Quincy Jones was in his ear. No. Quincy Jones was in his ear about leaving music and going into movies. Period. And Tupac, the actor, more than the musician, is what Quincy Jones was focused on. I mean, he was already working with Quincy Jones' son. If he was going to make music, that's why he had QD3 working with him. Pac started working with QD3 a little bit. Started messing with him because he was messing with Kadada. But he wanted Pac to get into acting. And LL Cool J ended up dating Kadada, and that's how LL got the TV show and was able to get some LL into the acting scene. Tupac wanted to go more into acting. Tupac was finna do the projects and launch that and just work on being the guy behind the scenes of the record label. He was taking a break from music and was going to focus more on his acting. He wanted to make the Nat Turner movie. As far as getting the movie Gang Related, was getting Oscar nominations, like Golden Globes. It was bringing him back to the forefront as a serious actor. That's why he did that song, the other movie he did where he was the drug addict, something different than he's ever played before. Then he played a crooked cop who was a snitch on his partner. Everything that was different from his character of being the rapper. He did not want to play another Bishop role. He was like, I don't want people to think that's all I could play. I could really act. So I want to show them different things he wanted to do. And he wanted to play Nat Turner in the Nat Turner movie. Yeah, Gridlock. Right, he did Bullet back when he did Above the Rim. Then he did Bullet. He came in there and he had just finished Bullet before he was shot. Absolutely. Shouts out to Welcome to HDTV, Uncle Frank, Nicholas Jacobs. My man T, Joseph Bailey. Everybody in the house from the panel. And Everyday Gaming, Christian showed up. Pac could have survived if they did the correct surgery. Here's the problem. They could not stop the bleeding. The type of surgery that they did on Pac and the type of injury he had I mean, with today's modern technology, maybe, but he was limited to the technology of his time. That normally a surgery like that, he's already lost a lung, and they just thought that would stop it because that lung was just destroyed. So they had to remove the lung. It was just too much. It was really too much. He lost a finger. One of his fingers got blown off. He was riddled, with bullets, and that's he would have never been the same. A lot of people think, okay, if he would have survived, he'd have been back making he was never going to be the same. And I don't know if and I don't know if he was ready for the world to see him like that. I think he was ready to go. What's up, Smashville? Thanks for checking us out. Puffy did not put a hit on Tupac. Stop. That's a lie. Anybody who tells you that is a lie. One, Puffy don't do that. Two, Puffy don't do that. Three, Puffy don't do that. He's not that kind of guy, period. He's not gonna put a hit out on anybody. Yes, one of Tupac fingers was shot off. That is confirmed. Immortal Outlaw, I haven't seen you in about 30,000 years. Yeah, I didn't say your name, man, in the video. Because I didn't want to give you up as the source. He couldn't talk because when you got tubes down your throat, you can't talk. It wasn't that he couldn't talk. He could talk, but you can't talk when you got all the tubes down your throat. Then he was in a medical induced coma after that. So Keffe D is a liar. So anything Keffe D tells you basically is going to be a lie. I mean, you could take it for what it might be, but Keffe D is a liar. He said, "How do you have a crime scene with no blood?" I'm trying to figure out what do you mean. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean there's no blood? I don't know if he would have went to jail over the fight. I don't know if he would have went to jail over the fight because I doubt Orlando would have pressed charges. So I doubt he would have went for the fight at all. He didn't press charges at the hotel. If they decide to try to, like, say, violated his parole, no. Suge went down and went to jail because of what happened with Tupac and everything else. And it was a list of problems. Plus, Interscope already did a deal with Dr. Dre, and he was already tampering with Dr. Dre. So, with this, they just wanted Suge out of the way. He was a problem to them. And they didn't want him in the way anymore. Haitian Jack did not set Tupac up, to my knowledge. But the thing is, Tupac made a mistake. He thought that Tupac and Haitian Jack set him up with the girl to do all this. That was not the case. Matter of fact, he brought the girl up. They never brought her there. Tupac called her up and she was like, I'm coming over there to meet with you and this and that. She was coming to meet with Pac. Pac, they didn't even know. This is the second time when the incident went down. He brought her up there. Like, he told her to come through and everything else. So when he went in the other room to go to sleep or whatever and left her there, it was because she thought she had built feelings like she was going to be the girl. And basically, when the other guys did what they did, he wasn't even in the room. And she was just upset with him because he was just like, whatever, go home. Like, he didn't care. And she was just like, felt like she was just used. And then she just took Pac down with him. And when you get to the cases, everything they put, sodomy, all that stuff was thrown out. He was charged for touching her buttocks or something, illegal touching of her buttocks. It was something ridiculous. But that wasn't a setup by them. Tupac assumed that it was a setup because they separated the case. Haitian Jack had money, so he was able to separate, besides the guns and stuff that had nothing to do with him. He didn't have the guns on him. So he was like, he walked into a situation. Like, he walked into the room, they got him on tape, just walking in there. He wasn't even the person, it wasn't even his room. So they never found anything on Haitian Jack. So he was able to get his case, and the other guy that was involved that was supposed to be in it, he was able to get his case removed from Tupac's case. That's what made, in Pac mind, he thinking we all Codies. We all going down together. Haitian Jack got money and lawyers, and he's off to the side. Pac immediately thinks, I've been set up. So he blasts them. Did an interview with a newspaper. He goes to the club. He went to a nightclub once he was out on bail and does an interview in New York, might I add. In New York. He's doing an interview in the club with a lady, and he just going off about, they set me up and this with this chick to this red case. I wouldn't even known that girl if they didn't put her up there. And they set me up this, and this. They separated the trial, and the dude who supposedly did it, why am I the only one on trial? The only reason why he was on trial is Mayor Giuliani, that crook. Mayor Giuliani, don't forget to hit the like button, everybody who's here. Hit the like button. We should be way over 200 likes. The reason why is because Mayor Giuliani wanted to make an example of Tupac. The police was harassing him completely based on the Atlanta shooting with the 2 officers. And he got acquitted. That looked bad. That looked real bad on them. And they've been messing with him and trying to get him in the system. He was put for a non-violent crime, put in Clinton Correctional Facility with murderers, people in there doing serious time. He was put in that facility. They made sure he went to Clinton Corrections. The whole time the judge wouldn't even look at him and the lawyers because the case was already done. That he was going to be found guilty. They wanted him to do time because he got away for getting away with the cops. And that was in Atlanta. Giuliani wasn't going to let that happen in his court. And then what was the hit and was the setup? Now, whether Haitian Jack knew about it or not, he said these people acted on his own. This was his crew. So his crew did it. Now, his crew knew he was coming there and set it all up. Yeah, he introduced her because she comes to the club, but she wasn't working for the feds. And as she told you, and when that court case started, it became more than what she knew when she was meeting with the federal, like the feds. Her little case became a big thing for them. And she told you in the Vlad interview, like, that case, like, yeah, I did notice how my case, I went from talking to some officers to a whole different group of people. Those were feds. How do you think that woman was in hiding for so long? You think nobody was there? I can't tell you Haitian Jack did it or sent the thing because I don't know. I can only tell you the facts. The facts was people that was in his crew did the doggone heist, but it was because Pac had said what he said. Instead of reaching out to them, contacting them, and getting the information of what happened, Pac would always speak first and then find out the information later. He's just reactive. So he spoke, and had he talked to Jack or any of them, he would have realized that, oh, okay. So y'all didn't set me up with this girl and, like have her set me up to do all this. They were like, why would we do that? Like, we love this dude. Like Junior Mafia. Like, he blamed Mob, Biggie, and all them, Andre Harrell, Puffy, all them, put them all in one big thing. Pac had just been hit. He don't know who did what. But he's like, somebody in here, all of y'all working together. Oh yeah, yeah. Now that went down. Now the actual thing, like Jack didn't do it. They decided to do it. The people that was down with him. And we all know who that is. He tells you, Pac tell you exactly who did it on against all odds. Yes, he was reached out to by Jimmy Henchman to do a song, do a verse for Lil Sean. Pac said he'd do it for 5 G's. Pac was basically managing himself, just doing pay him 5 G's, he'll do it. So he was like, bet he'll come out there. Pac wanted exactly, he wanted to get it like in cash. Jimmy was gonna write him a check. And Pac told him on the phone, no certain ways was he doing checks because at that time Pac didn't even have a crib. He was living out a hotel. So at that point, Pac was like, nah, bruh, ain't doing checks. If I throw a check in the bank, I'm not getting the money back like that. Just hit me off because he was waiting on the above the rim money. The above the rim money hadn't came in yet, and he was pissed because he had finished above the rim. He was waiting on that money to hit. He had just, I think they just was about to complete Bullet, but he didn't get his, Bullet wasn't even released yet, but still, he had just completed Bullet. They still had some shots that they wanted to do, and they just like, okay, we got enough. Let's just, end it like this. But they still was some shots they wanted to do, but when Pac got shot, that Bullet went on the back burner. Does Gene know what really happened with Pac? I don't know. I mean, he probably know about the New York situation because basically everybody in New York knew what happened. Um, yeah, Jimmy was nobody to play with, man. I mean, at that time, he took things very seriously. So if that was the case, I didn't know that he wanted to be paid in cash because he owed money. And if you put the bank, if you got a check, now you got to go somewhere and cash it in New York, and Pa got to run around try to cash a check, and he ain't had time for that. Just pay him cash. Like Pac didn't even have a wallet. I mean, seriously, he didn't even have a wallet. He just kept stuff in his pockets. If this was a stream yard, it'd be 50,000 people talking at once. And I wanted to make sure all the questions was answered clearly because I get hit with this every day. And I'm like, man, like I guess somebody made another video and gave a whole nother narrative and it'd be way all over the place. Sam Sneed got beat up because he was the guy in charge of studio time. It wasn't Tupac beating up Sam Sneed. It was really a lot of other people beating up Sam Sneed. They didn't like him anyway. He was the last guy that was really attached to Dre. And Dre, he really didn't have no contact with Dre. Dre just left him out there. And he basically just, Sam Sneed was his project. So he was not a death row guy either. It was like, they really was mad at him. It was a lot of talk about the video he had. And they was like, look at your video. Pac didn't like that he had all those East Coast dudes in the video. And they was like, for every East Coast dude we see in the video, you ain't got no death row people in the video. That was Suge's call. And dudes is beating him up for that. That was just the excuse. It's like, look at this. Why ain't no death row people in the video? Huh? Why ain't no death row people in the video there? Look at this. This whole video you shot. Now, one person from death row in there. Man, get out my face, man. So they were ready to beat him up for that. And then when the whole thing is, he was in charge of studio time and telling people, okay, y'all session over. Suge only gave y'all this much time. So he's the guy you ain't gonna like because he cutting you off and kicking y'all out the studio. That's his job. So naturally, he got beat up real bad. This Suge Knight, Shield, Pac, there wasn't no time. Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever seen gunfire before, and when shots are fired, those shots came automatically, and it was over in probably less than a second. Probably 2 seconds. So what somebody's saying they got time to grab somebody and pull, you don't have that much time to do anything. If you ever seen a shooting before, which I have witnessed, it's not like a movie. You don't have time. Believe me, it's not time to dive in front of somebody. That's movies. If you knew how fast a bullet travels, it'd be like 9, 10 shots in like 1 second. Pop, 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 pop. It's over. And they speed off. Because they weren't aiming at Suge. If they aimed at Suge, they probably would have hit him too. From the shots came from the back seat, not the front seat. And it came on an angle of this way, on a slant. What about Mob? Mob James. No, he didn't hit. There was no time to do anything. By the time them shots came in, blah, 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 the only thing you could do was really do this. It was over in like less than 2 seconds. Less than 2 seconds, it was all over. So in 2 seconds, what could he do? I mean, Suge said he got a bullet in his head. So I let that you figure that out. It wasn't a professional hit. It was a gang hit. A professional hit, it's not going, the grouping of rounds and the shots. No. That's a drive-by hit. Trying to hit an intended target. You talking about Wolf at Jermaine Dupri's birthday party? They're having an argument about Jodeci, and Jodeci's leaving Death Row. Mary J. Blige is already left Puff and going back over to Suge to be her manager. Now Suge helped get her money and her own deal, so things is going well for her. And It was 4 people out there. They're in the middle of the street. Suge, Puff, Wolf, and Suge's guy. The argument, they were hollering at each other. And it got escalated, whatever they were saying about this discussion. It wasn't going well. And Wolf and dude got into it, got loud. And next thing you know, shots went off. Bow, 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 bow. And Suge guy was gone. And from that moment on, Puff knew he was in trouble. Puff did an interview. And, oh, thank you for the Cash App donation. I am Carcino on the Cash App. You said, what about the dossier? What dossier? So you saying I don't believe the feds were involved? No, not really. Not at that point. I don't think that was a Fed situation. I don't think what transpired was a Fed situation at all. That was a circumstantial of events of cause and action, cause and effect, right? Pac jumped in something that he shouldn't have, and it caught up to him. And it caught up to him in the same night. No, the feds were there watching Biggie. Now that's more shocking than anything. Like, they got all these photographs because they was watching Biggie, investigating him and his ties to the Genovese mafia. And, they just did a deal, like basically a mob deal for protection. And this was in New York. And Big raps about it in his entire album. Hang with cats that call blacks moolies. Call gats toolies. Think it's cool to smoke woolies. And up without rubbers. Specialize in killing wives and grandmothers. Who you trust? Yeah, they had just did this deal with the Genovese. So he was really feeling himself. And now they were under investigation because they had a snitch in the mafia. And that snitch was Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal was one of the snitches. Can you believe that? Steven Seagal was being extorted, and he wore a wire. The feds got him, put a wire on him. Why you think he was Steven Seagal lawman? How you think he got that? He was an informant. Am I lying on Steven Seagal? Do anybody got Google? Google Steven Seagal wears wire to testify on the mob, against the mob. Claim they was trying to extort him for money, wore wire. I don't gotta use Google. I already remember. I know what went down. Steven Seagal, the actor, the martial artist, and on the wire, they're laughing. They're laughing on the wire because he was so scared. He went to the bathroom. They laughing like big martial artist. And Steven Seagal, he's scared of us. They thought it was funny. All that audio is on the wire. So he put the whole family in danger just by snitching. Of course, he had love for Eric B. and Rakim, but their working relationship wasn't working out with Eric B. and Suge and all that for Death Row East. So I think Eric B. just walked away from it, and they was just like, "Skip it, we're done." I can't believe this is the first time y'all heard Steven Seagal was a rat. Of course, I'm right about Steven Seagal. I told y'all this is not a shock. I remember when it was happening. I don't have to use Google. This is my Google. I lived it. A lot of y'all didn't even know. He was the rat. Katie Seagal was never married to Steven Seagal. He was married to Katie LeBrock. Katie Seagal is Peggy Bundy on Married with Children. It's two different people. And no, they've been divorced. Matter of fact, Mr. Lawman, Steven Seagal, was fighting cases for underage women and sexual abuse, which is why he's not doing that Lawman TV show no more. Steven Seagal had all these gangsters with him doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden, he rolled over on these dudes, man, and he screwed up everything. That's when he became environmentalist Steven Seagal. I care about. He thought he went from Italian to an Indian. He started wearing all the Indian stuff. He did his on dangerous ground. I must protect the environment. Na 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 na. Jay. He was no longer Italian no more. Now he was an Indian. let Steven Seagal tell you, he gonna tell you he Native American. Because I'm one half Native American. And I'm black too, my brother. Yeah. You tell him I'm coming and I'm looking for him. Quincy Jones, for the 100th million time, Quincy Jones never tried to sleep with Tupac Shakur. Okay? Somebody made a YouTube video and took what Tupac said and added on something he never said. And said, Quincy Jones said, hey, I want to get up with you and all this stuff. Like, I don't get down like that. And everybody swore that video got removed from YouTube immediately. And everybody in the world has saw it though. And now people have taken that and run with it as facts. Like, I remember seeing that. No, he did say that. And I'm like, it never happened. It never happened. So that's why I had to let you guys know it was definitely a lie. 100%. Pac was dating Kadada, and he met with Quincy Jones because he had said some things about Quincy Jones when he did an interview before when he was younger. And he was like, Quincy Jones needs to stop sleeping with these white women, making all these mixed babies. So when he said that, and it got it out in the interview, the older sister got in an argument. They was arguing back and forth on social media. So it was actually Kadada was the one, So they ended up meeting, and she had just broke up with LL Cool J, and that thing with LL and Tupac, that whole thing. This Kadada, and I kidnap your daughter, kill your wife, and hit the funeral and tell her that's who gave the order. And that was a LL diss, and nobody caught it, but man, if social media was, oh my God, like Tupac was just getting into email. Like email was just coming out, like really taking off. He was just getting an email. Yeah, he said that. He said that in an interview, and people were responding to it, and they were like the white girl was like, "But Pac, like you slept with me," it was crazy. Like it was nuts. Like at the time when he had made that statement, but he get into his Black Power moment. So when he met Kadada, and he was like, "That's when I was much." He's like, "I was immature." He apologized to Quincy Jones, the sisters, and everything, and that's when he had met the one that you seen on The Office, the one that be in all the movies, the actress's that daughter. I forgot her name, the other Jones. Um, that's who Pac met, and then he met Kadada, and then he was like, "Yeah, she rap and all this stuff. She loved hip hop. Her name's Kadada." Then he thought that she was Kadada, but it wasn't. So he ended up meeting Kadada. Yeah, Rashida. He was met Rashida, but it was Kadada, the one that he was like, "Oh, I want to talk to her. I want to talk to her and tell her I'm sorry and everything." So that's how they met, did all that, and hooked up. But she's been lying every time I see. Oh, how much, Me and Pac was about to get married, and Pac wasn't finna marry no Kadada. He was not marrying Kadada. That's out. He was not about to marry Kadada. Did not give her no engagement ring. All these lies. And I'm like, she at the death row party 6 months later anyway. She hanging out with Puff and them. She was there that night. Big got hit. Oh yeah, man. I did the truth behind that beef. When them two was finna fight at Sylvester Stallone house. And that part of the Van Damme stories, baby. Van Damme was something else. Man, this is deja vu. I just had a deja vu moment. Me sitting here doing this video and reading that comment. That's crazy. This is deja vu. I saw this whole comment. I sat here, same amount of people, everything in the video. That's nuts. I'm looking at that. What you said about Soldier Slim was the next part. They always kill the real. Can you do a Soldier Slim, bro? That's on my Casino for Life Patreon starting March 1st. Sign up on March 1st. Don't sign up today, sign up tomorrow. So you don't get billed twice. I don't know why they do that. Like if somebody signed up the day before, if once it hit the first, they start billing. So definitely sign up tomorrow. Oh man, this is hip hop. Don't nobody care no more. I'm like, it's the industry, man. You know what I mean? People sleeping with each other's girls. I mean, that's just like Hollywood. It's like none of it's real. The marriages and in real life, that would mean something. Like in the real world, somebody who's sleeping with your girl. I know people go crazy. Somebody sleeping with their ex. Hey, Camden, thanks for your cash out, bro. I appreciate it. Suge did not have anything to do with Tupac losing his life. He would no, that don't even make sense. If Suge wanted to, he could have took Tupac out many different ways at many different times, and it wouldn't even been no questions. Like it just could have been an accident. Like He didn't even have to. He saved Tupac from drowning when they was in Cancun. So I'm like, they went out there swimming in the waters and Pac was drowning. And Suge jumped in the water, went out there and saved him. So all he had to do was just not save Pac if that's what he wanted to do. I mean, if that's what the case, all he had to do was like let him go. And there wouldn't have been no questions if that was his goal. But no, he did not. That's retarded. I mean, you could blame everybody. You could blame the way they was out there. You could blame Pac for who wore his vest earlier, chose not to wear his vest. Had his vest up in their room, he didn't want to wear it at night. Yeah, Pac and Corrupt got into a fight in Cabo. Now I gotta take this. Hello? Hey, what's going on? No, I'm not sleeping. I'm in the middle of a live stream. But what's up? Oh, okay. All right, bye bye. Sorry, when my sister called, I gotta pick up the phone. My sister don't call me. No, people don't realize that that was the last time that Corrupt and Pac was around each other. Like Corrupt had left. He told Suge and everybody else he was the first one gone. He left before Dre. Corrupt left to go be with Foxy Brown. He was gonna marry Foxy, and they got engaged, and they were going. He was living in New York. See, Corrupt is from Philly, so he left the West Coast, packed up, moved all his stuff. So after the fight and everything, he was basically done and went over there to move with Foxy. Oh, Corrupt told the story on Breakfast Club. That's cool. I should go listen to it and hear what he said. What happened with him and Tina? I don't even know. His baby mom's the one who died. Rest in peace. I couldn't even tell you because I wasn't really following that. I heard that too, but I heard that as a rumor. I don't have any facts on that. I know it was an underage girl claiming that like the dog pound or somebody from Death Row was messing with them. I didn't go down that road, but I'm aware of the allegation. Just like the carjacking in Milwaukee that happened, we know about that more than probably guys in LA. That ended the Death Row tour. Yeah, the Gangster Disciples was gonna put an end to all of that. So they pulled the tour. Yeah, they was trying to say, and I hear what they was trying to do. They was trying to cop some weed, right? And they wanted to, cop some weed and all this stuff, and they ended up, uh, they didn't like how the deal was going down. So I guess they felt like they was about to be robbed. So they jacked the dude and took his van to get up out of there. And shots was fired, man. It was crazy. So one of the guys that was in there was a gangster disciple that his big brother is a guy who's actually from Chicago and Milwaukee and all that. That's like right next to each other. So he was somebody you wouldn't touch. And his name is Blue Black. And you don't mess with him. So they did the right thing by canceling the tour because it was only going to be more random acts of violence on the rest of that tour. So it was not going to go well. No, he's a gangster disciple, and their colors are blue and black, and they just called him Blue Black. So that's that's about the most of it you gonna get. Blue Black. Oh, he had many names. Blue Black's just one of them. He got many names. Did Suge Knight dangle Vanilla Ice over the balcony? No, he did not. What happened is they came. One of his artists, Suge, had um, he claimed that his song "Ice Ice Baby" was ripped off from him, and he helped create it with Vanilla Ice. And they saw it out. It was just a lie, just to shake down Vanilla Ice. So Vanilla Ice had security, but nothing like what they had. So Suge met him at a restaurant or a dinner or whatever, sat down at the table, talked to him, told him his proposal, and he was just like that's crazy. Like, no, don't know nothing about it. So, and he had some big dudes with him. So he was in his hotel room chilling. The next thing you know, knock on the door, these guys barge in, boom, whoop up all the security guards that Vanilla Ice got. And Suge brought in the big boys. They came in there like the whole Compton football team. They put the work in on the bodyguard. And this was just to show Vanilla Ice he wasn't safe. They went on the balcony and they talked. Just told him, like, look, you got a choice. Either you do this or you just decided this rap thing is not for you. And you just jump over the bridge. Either way, we call it even. Either you sign here or you could take a jump. Which one you want to do? So he said, where's a pen? Sign that piece of paper. And that money ended up bankrolling Death Row Records. But no, he didn't dangle him over the bridge. No, that actually happened to a member of the Dales. I believe the Dales. A member of the Dales was dangled, like Big Red dangled him over the balcony. Like he actually did that to an artist. My mom know right off the top of the head. She'll tell you who that artist was that was dangled over the over the balcony. Like he was regularly dangled over the balcony. Yeah, most of this stuff I've already done on the Truth Behind. It's a playlist called The Truth Behind. Follow that playlist. That playlist will keep you informed. You will never go wrong. Absolutely. So if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe to the page. The Golden Eagle has just landed right when we about to take off. Finna call my sister back and have a conversation with her. We'll hit you guys up later on. So you guys should be all caught up right now. I've answered a lot of questions. So I'm out.